Today, we're diving into one of the most nail-biting moments in early Islamic history, the Apostate Wars. This is a story about the incredible resolve of the first Caliph, Abu Bakr, as he stared down the very real possibility that his new state could be wiped off the map.
So, let's start with a big question. Imagine a new nation. It loses its founding leader, and almost immediately it's thrown into total chaos and rebellion. How does it possibly survive? This isn't just history, you know. It's a lesson in leadership, faith, and pure strategy.
All right, so let's paint a picture here. After the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passed away, the brand new Islamic state was facing a crisis of existence. Powerful tribes across Arabia, like the Asad and Ghatafan, they turned their backs on the state. And seeing a moment of weakness, they started closing in on the capital, Medina, threatening to snuff out this new community before it even had a chance to get started.
And that brings us right to our first part, a city under siege. The threat wasn't just some distant rumble. It was literally at the gates.
But, you know, the whole thing didn't kick off with a battle cry. It started with a political test. Delegations from these big, powerful tribes showed up in Medina, not to declare war, but supposedly to negotiate the terms of their loyalty.
And right here, this is the heart of the whole problem. The tribes said, sure, we'll pray, but we're not paying zakâh. That's the mandatory charitable offering that really connected them to the central government. To them, it was just a tax. But for the Caliph, Abu Bakr, no way. This was a non-negotiable pillar of Islam itself. To give in on zakâh meant the whole foundation of the faith would start to crumble.
And this right here shows what they were really up to. While they were pretending to be negotiators, these delegations were actually sizing up the city. They saw a community they thought was weakened, small in number, and they decided, you know what? We can take them. A quick, destructive attack could end this whole Islamic project for good. This is the moment where the character of the new leader, Abu Bakr, completely changes the course of history. Faced with this massive threat, he drew a line in the sand.
He made his position absolutely crystal clear. There was zero room for bargaining on the fundamentals of the faith. And this wasn't just him being stubborn. It was a deep understanding that the integrity of the state and the religion were completely tied together.
And Abu Bakr, he wasn't fooled for a second. The sources tell us he could literally see the treachery in their faces. The moment those delegations left, he turned to his people and warned them an attack was coming. His command was simple: get ready and prepare yourselves. The time for talking was over.
So what do you do? How does a city that feels outnumbered and outgunned get ready for an assault they know is on its way?
Well, Abu Bakr's plan was just methodical and brilliant. First, he locked down the city, putting guards on night watch at every single pass and every entrance. Second, he put his best and most experienced military commanders, guys like Ali and Az-Zubayr, in charge of those guards. And third, he sent out riders on fast camels with urgent messages, calling on the few tribes that were still loyal for help.
And you know what? They answered the call. Even with all the rebellion, that core community wasn't completely alone. Loyal tribes like Aslam, Khifar, and Muzayana responded. The Juhayna tribe alone showed up with 400 men, which was a huge boost for both numbers and morale.
Okay, so now we get to the night of the attack itself. And this wasn't just going to be a clash of swords. It was a battle of strategy and pure wits.
Just 3 nights after those fake negotiations, the enemy made their move. The combined armies of Asad, Ghatafan, and Abs launched what they hoped would be a crushing surprise attack under the cover of darkness. But, and this is the crucial part, because of Abu Bakr's preparations, the guards he'd stationed in the passes saw them coming and immediately sent word back to the city. The element of surprise? Gone. So the defenders in Medina, who were already on high alert, quickly jumped on their camels and went after the attackers. The enemy, totally caught off guard by this fast response, retreated toward a place called Du Hassa, where they had left a rear guard and a very unusual trap. And this is where the enemy unleashes this really creative tactic. To stop the Muslim pursuit, they'd inflated a bunch of water skins. As the Muslims got closer, they started kicking these weird, bouncing things down the mountainside, hoping the strange sight and sound would freak out the camels and just shatter their formation.
But in one of the greatest moments of historical irony, the plan completely and utterly backfired. The Muslim camels, they held steady. But it was the enemy's own camels, who had no idea what these things were, that totally panicked. Their riders lost control, and the terrified animals just bolted in every direction, running in total chaos until they literally ran straight into the city of Madinah. Can you imagine?
So after that whole ordeal, the surprise attack, the clever trap, what was the result of that first engagement? The number of Muslims killed or injured? 0. A big fat 0. The defense had held perfectly.
But Abu Bakr wasn't just content to defend. He saw a chance to seize the momentum, and the tide was about to turn, big time. Instead of celebrating, Abu Bakr spent the rest of that night reorganizing his forces, and at the very first light of dawn, he personally led a fast, decisive counterattack. They hit the enemy, who were now completely disorganized and demoralized, at a place called Dul Kisa, catching them totally by surprise. The fight was quick. The enemy, already a mess, just broke and ran. The Muslims were victorious. They captured their animals, and most importantly, secured Medina from the immediate threat. This first win was absolutely crucial. It set the tone for the entire war.
The impact of this victory was immediate, and it was huge. News that the apostates had been so thoroughly humiliated spread like wildfire. Other tribes, inspired by this display of resolve, quickly sent their zakâh. So in a single night, Medina went from a city on the brink of destruction to a secure capital, with the wealth of 6 tribes flowing in.
And this first win created a ripple effect. It shattered the myth that the Muslims were weak and proved that the government in Medina wasn't going anywhere. From this one single point of strength, stability started to spread back across the entire peninsula, holding the new state together.
And all of this leaves us with one final big thought. In its absolute darkest hour, the community in Medina was massively outnumbered. But they had something far more powerful. They had principled leadership and a resolve that would not break. So it really makes you wonder, what is the true foundation of a nation's strength? Is it really found in its numbers, or is it found in its conviction?